Hi, we are back for the likes of the Maxi Toys. Hey, Mr. Sonic, why are you singing like that? Well, because we are exploring into the Savannah. Okay. I'll just, sorry I'm a little bit enthusiastic about the forms of the Lion King vibes to this, because, well, you probably already know what to expect. Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is I am the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, aka the Blue Blur, aka Blue Justice. And I am Knuckles the Echidna here. I am an Echidna warrior. When we are back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, as you probably expect us at this point in time. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more Let's Play of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for the Nintendo Wii U / Nintendo Switch, despite the fact that we are still playing for the Switch version just because of the good quality, and on top of that, faster loading times, as far as you probably already expect. So, last time, we've essentially did manage to finish up everything for Autumn Heights by not only we did somehow manage able to take care of the next few levels, but also with the Forms of the Temple level, even though that it does manage able to give Knuckles' thumb a bit of a pain. Well, despite the fact though, Sonic, my thumbs are uninjured, so at least I'm pretty strong and pretty tough looking, so yeah, that's besides the point. And also we did manage to take down the forms of the second boss in the game, so yeah, as a result we did that okay enough. So today, for this video, is about the fact that we're going to be able to start things off by exploring through the third world in the game known as Bright Savannah. And as far as I'm aware, is that the first level in World 3 we're going to be exploring into, it appears to be, I would say it is Grassland Grove, at least as far as I'm aware. And gee, this world seriously does remind me of the Forms of the Lion King vibes, because as far as I'm aware, we're about to be exploring through the African portion of this entire world. So, pretty cool about the fact, no matter what though, that concerning for the fact that this particular game came out in 2014 to begin with on the original Wii U version of the game, and on top of that, that will mark the 20th anniversary of the original The Lion King, since Infinity Forms have been 20, well, I don't know about you, because it's been about 5 days ago, potentially speaking, since we've last played this game for sure. Because I know for circumstances anyway, is about the fact that, unfortunately though, for those of you probably wondering, I have pretty much got my sore throat right now. So because of that, I am now feeling a little bit more opposite compared to Knuckles, because as far as I'm aware, Knuckles is completely fine, aren't you? Well, despite with the forms of my thumbs, but like I said before, my thumbs are uninjured, so you probably get the idea for this point. So, yeah, anyway, a few things I want to explain for this point today is that, well, today's date, of course, here is the 16th of January today, in some cases in 2024 today, so potentially speaking now, we're now on to the halfway point in terms of the forms of January for 2024. So because of that, yeah, we haven't got that long now until we're almost approaching on to the second month in terms of the forms of 2024. So we can pretty much expect what's to come for the sake of the later days to come. So even then, chances are though we're able to explain more about it if we continue proceedings for this world. So yeah, because as far as I'm aware, like I said before, is about the fact that, exponentially speaking though, I believe something tells me is about the fact that Ray the Flying Squirrel, he's now onto the halfway point right now for Super Mario Bros. Wonder. So because of that, and I'm presumably for the sake of time, that both Pac-Man and Silver the Hedgehog are almost finishing up the entire story mode in WarioWare Get It Together. So no matter what though, about the fact that, unfortunately though, similar to the forms of how it does it in 2023, unfortunately though, the uploading schedules as of right now has actually gone a bit of a slow progression. So because of that, hopefully by that time, once we get to next week or so, sometimes though, we need to keep up the pace for the sake of the schedule uploading. So yeah, that's as far as I was trying to able to point things out potentially, but either way, like I already mentioned about this before, is that Bright Savannah does remind me of not only The Lion King, but also with the fonts of Madagascar Escape to Africa, because as far as I'm aware, both of those films have some similarities when it comes to likely experiencing Africa and all that stuff, Although I will admit though right away for this point, Sonic, is it maybe possible that we can able to actually see The Lion King on the theaters again? Oh, what makes you say that, Knuckles? Oh, wait a second, just because it will mark the 30th anniversary of the original film's release since in 1994. Yeah, I was expecting for this point there, Sonic, especially concerning for the fact that we can obviously attempt to able to celebrate that if we decided able to watch that particular amazing The Lion King theater again, so I guess that begs the question for this point, huh? And also, this particular world right here does also kind of reminds me of something related to, like, an African vibes. Like, for example, in Sonic Unleashed, there's a continent called Missouri, where basically though it's about the fact that we're going to be exploring through certain trees and African stuff. So potentially speaking though, it's about the fact that, well, it does also reminds me of Missouri continent from Sonic Unleashed. So specifically with the HD version for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 version, which you probably already know what to expect at this point. So anyways though, I suppose no matter what though, oh, there's a bonus area right up there, which despite the fact that we somehow failed that specific jump, once we were able to grab onto something, but regardless of such though, we somehow made it. So, anyways though, what was you trying to say for this point, Sonic? Oh yes, exponentially speaking, I was about the fact that, for what I've heard, that Capcom 74, he's almost at the halfway point in terms of Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix already. Well, exponentially speaking, I was about the fact that he actually got some bit of progressioning. The only time it's a little bit lacking in terms of progression is about the fact that, sadly though, our views count, as well as his views count, just somehow feels a bit slightly small amount recently, which I'm not exactly sure why that's the case, but regardless of such though, things will get improved over time, but it's just with the phones in the early stages at this point, when it comes to likely getting certain views for our videos during that time, but despite the fact that, well, you know, we're still on the forms of the halfway point in terms of January already, before we move along to the forms of the second month, as we expected. So, anyways though, there's also another thing I want to explain about this as well, is that potentially speaking though, only 2 more days to go now until Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is going to be releasing on multiple platforms, which I haven't exactly looked upon the actual reviews of the game yet, but that's just mainly because I was expecting to be waiting until when the actual game comes out. So, generally speaking, I was about the fact that it does have some high expectations, depending on what specific version of the game you're playing on, and on top of that, we've only just got about I would say 3 more days to go until not only The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered for the PlayStation 5 will be releasing, but also about the fact that with the forms of Another Code, Recollection is going to be releasing on the Nintendo Switch. So, yeah, that might be the first set of few, you know, gaming releases for now, for the majority of 2024 so far, whilst we'll eventually find out more details. Oh, look at that with this gorgeous sun in the background, which again reminds me of the Circle of Life, which as a result still is the most epic opening sequence in the entire Disney Renaissance era, at least to be more specifically with the original version, just because we seriously do not care about the forms of the live-action counterpart anymore, just because, let's face it though, the live-action movie is dull, and I seriously do not enjoy it anymore. It's even bad enough though, Knuckles, is about the fact that until when it gets to the point until 6 months later, that film in particular will mark the 5th anniversary of the film's release, which, let's face it though, we are not going to be able to try to celebrate that after all, just because no matter what though, despite with the forms of a cash grab, to be more specifically, it did somehow reach into $1 billion for its box office department. I mean, still, I felt a bit of a missed opportunity, at least in my opinion, so yeah, we'll be biased, I guess, so, but still, it's entirely opinion related, but still, I can't really judge by the forms of judging the book by its cover or something like that for the sake of comparisons, so anyways, here we go on to the next level right here. Now, I think something tells me is that we need to able to try to balance it out for those specific flowers, as you can tell from left and right, and I believe there might be some plentiful of puzzle pieces that we can probably try to find and I get the strong feeling that certain puzzle pieces are going to get a little bit more tricky to obtain, specifically not only for the sake of the forms of you need to rush this, but it's also about the fact that sometimes it can be well hidden, whilst other times you do need to able to collect all the collectibles in that specific segment until you're able to actually get that particular puzzle piece, similar to the forms of how it does it for Donkey Kong Country Returns after all. So yeah, you get the idea for this point. So, oh, speaking of which though for this point, Sonic, is that also for what I've heard, is that The Lion King 1.5 is going to be celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. Oh yes, with that particular main focus of Timon and Pumbaa. Like, usually the entire structure of the film plays exactly like the first film, but the major focus is on Timon and Pumbaa's perspective, so at least we're able to try to celebrate that for its 20th anniversary. Once that's going to be the case, well, we'll never know, because obviously we haven't exactly double checked on the forms of the film's release dates for quite some time at this rate, so hopefully we'll try to celebrate that once we're able to continue proceedings for the sake of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. So, but at least I remember back in the day that you and me and Shadow and Tails as well, and even Amy one time, that we used to watch this countless amount of times on a VHS back in the day, and that is so hilarious. Even though despite the fact that it's a little bit controversial for most people out there, because obviously the only dumber about the forms of the UK's version of that particular film, that for some reason it just calls it The Lion King 3 as opposed to The Lion King 1.5, despite the fact that it's actually in a between quill or something like that. Well, at least according to the forms of the teaser trailer, to be more specifically the American version, because for some odd reason that the UK version just seems a bit out of place with that particular title. Like, really? Why does the UK version has to call it The Lion King 3 Hakuna Matata? Which, again, it doesn't make that much sense to me, but still. So, anyway, there's also another thing we want to classify for mention about this, potentially speaking, is that I think me and Knuckles have already organized about the forms of this upcoming American holiday coming up, likely resulting during the forms of that specific time until the 14th of June, by the way, which is roughly the exactly same day as when Inside Out 2 is going to be releasing on the theaters, or the cinemas for that matter. And as a result, we've already planned out specific events that me and Knuckles and Tails, Mighty and Ray, Shadow, Silver, and of course the Mario gang as well, usually for Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, etc., that we are definitely planning for a multitude of factors when it comes to going to America at some point in June, forms of in June sometime. Spoiler alert for those of you who want to know what plans we're going to be able to expect to do. Obviously, the main factor about the fact that we're going to be seeing the Super Nintendo World, which that's definitely happening. And as far as I'm aware, we also did manage able to suggest to go to the beach, because, well, just to chill out and just to settle in. And on top of that, we're about to be going in to explore the city, and that'll be exciting and also thrilling, or just exciting in general, because obviously this is going to be our fresh new experience when it comes to exploring something new, because aside from the fact that me, Mario, Pac-Man, and Mega Man have already experienced exploring through Greece since in 2016, while meanwhile for you, Knuckles, did manage able to sort something out with my 25th anniversary of the Sonic the Hedgehog series, which, as a result, you did that pretty good, all things considered. Well, it might not be the best setup while looking back, but it's just about the fact that it's just for a little nice little coincidence of able to actually just look back on the forms within the past few years, from our perspective, for the majority of the time. So you get the idea for this point. So, and of course, much like before, we're getting chased by the forms of this random obstacle, so we just have to able to make our way fast enough. So, oh, okay, at least we got the G, and there we go. Oh wait, that was actually a close call, despite we are missing 2 pieces, or puzzle pieces for that matter, but hopefully we'll try to save those up once we're able to almost finishing up everything for the majority of the forms of Bright Savannah. So, but anyway, so now we're done with that particular stage, and now it's going to move on to the next stage, and that's what appears to be by the forms of level 3-3, Frantic Fields. And as far as I'm aware, we're going to have to able to cope with the actual strong wind. So yeah, in some cases though, it's about the fact that I get the strong feeling the next level coming up that it might kind of reminds me of the forms of one of those specific scenes from The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, which technically speaking about the fact that ever since in last year, that we've already technically able to actually celebrate the 25th anniversary of the actual film's release of The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, which, no matter what though, you probably already expect. Oh, and something worth noting for the sake of time, Sonic, is that by that time, since we on the films have been 2024 still, we're able to celebrate another film that's going to be able to become 25 this year. Oh, what's that exactly? Well, do you remember Tarzan, right? Oh yeah, the glorious classic Disney movie, to me anyway, as also is the final film to be released for the sake of the films of the Disney Renaissance era of films. Why is that? Well, that particular film is going to became 25 years old this year, so yeah. And exponentially speaking though for this point, Knuckles, is that yes, we will definitely able to plan to rewatch that at some point, whilst the time of the celebration is about to begin. Let's just say at some point in June, was it? I believe so, according to the forms of the American version of the film's release, at least as far as I'm aware of, but even then though, because sometimes though, depending on what regions we lived in, sometimes the release dates tend to be a little bit more different, so, which I honestly have no idea why I did somehow explain any of those things, but still. But that's just how it is for our sake, so. Anyways though, so there's also another thing I want to classify for mentioning about this as well. Recently we did somehow found out, ever since in a couple of days ago, it looks like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse has recently won the actual Best Animated Film Award, just recently, which as a result, similar to the forms of how it does it for, let's just say, Spider-Man Enter the Spider-Verse, ever since in 2018, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm presuming that film also did somehow won the Best Animated Film Award since in 2018. I'm not exactly 100% sure, because I know for a fact it's been a very long while since we've last seen, you know, Spider-Man Enter the Spider-Verse, because obviously we've now able to get a chance to see, you know, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse now, but now we need to wait until even longer for the sake of hopefully trying to see Beyond the Spider-Verse. So, even though it's a shame about the fact that the Mario movie never gets any of those rewards, sadly, which I'm not exactly sure why, though, but even then, though, I was expecting that Peaches, you know, the actual lyric song, were able to get one of those rewards, but sadly, that's not the case, which is kind of unfortunate, because even though, despite with the forms of some memes and stuff like that, which I could possibly understand why, that, even though it's a bit difficult to explain, because I know for a fact that, well, at this point in time, that, I do somehow manage able to finally found out, in regards to the forms of the particular UK's release date, for the sake of the forms of Kung Fu Panda 4 coming up, as it turns out, unlike the American version that is going to be releasing earlier, to be more specifically sometime in 8th of March, as it turns out, in the UK version has to wait until by the end of March, to be more specifically sometime like 29th or something like that, in just about a week after the release of Princess Peach Showtime, at least as far as I'm aware. Well, at least we did somehow already checked on the actual Universal Pictures UK website already, so. But either way, oh jeez, we have to get away from that particular lightning strikes fast, and on top of that, it's a lot of crumbling platforms every now and then, and generally speaking though, this level's pretty tricky, especially because if you do not pay attention to the forms of the surroundings as much, then you're going to tend to die a lot, so. But anyways, there's that puzzle piece right there. I did not make it. But that's okay though, because we already got the checkpoint, thus we still got a lot of extra lives. So at the very least, it's pretty generous enough. So, but also something tells me there's going to be a bonus area around here somewhere on this section. So, but it wasn't until whenever we get to the latest progression for the sake of this section though, Knuckles, is that hopefully we're able to come across into that, despite the fact that we are pretty much lacking with, you know, with partner companions at this moment in time, like Diddy Kong or Dixie Kong for that matter, but, oh jeez, I totally forgot about that lightning strike, just almost, oh, speaking of Dixie Kong, there she is right here. So, thankfully, at least we got her, and I'm afraid that we somehow missed that particular bonus area, so, yeah, it's gonna be one of those, one-screen, little thing right there, so, yeah, unfortunately, we've somehow missed that, so. But at least potentially speaking though, assuming if we try to able to succeed at this point, and jeez, that was close. Well, at the very least we got the G right there, so that's something I suppose. So, and I get the feeling we got able to, oh jeez, dang it, I keep on hesitating to able to reach that particular leaps of faith. Oh well. And it's even bad enough that we already lost Dixie Kong as well, so that's kind of unfortunate though. Yeah, because unlike Evolves of how it does it in the Super Nintendo games like Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3, that if you fell to a bottomless pit while you're still able to have your partner companion with you, then you kept your partner companion, whilst unlike in, well, specifically in Donkey Kong Country Returns, as well as Tropical Freeze, if you dare fall off in a level, you lose your partner companion as well. So because of that, yeah, it's a bit stingy sometimes though, I will admit though right away, Knuckles, but mainly because we're still pretty much used to playing the Super Nintendo titles after all, so there we go, we've got all of the puzzle pieces on this stage, so we just now need to able to complete the level as normal, so although it can be pretty tricky, I'm not gonna lie, because obviously since that we still got ourselves Rambi with us, this means there's going to be a lot of tricky leaps of faith situations, so yeah, I believe for the most part though, Sonic, is that, oh jeez, that was close again, but thankfully we got the G again, so right, let's see if we can able to make this at this point without even like slowing down, and oh, there's the end of a level. Oh no! The lightning strike screwed us up! No! Shoot, today is not my day. Well, truth be told though, Sonic, at the very least we don't have to worry about just trying to get that bonus area again, so jeez, but that doesn't excuse the fact that sometimes, no matter what though, it was very unexpected. We're able to actually see that, you know, see that little dangerous hazard, but either way, we ended up in this bonus area again, but who cares, because we've already accomplished that, because you know with that treasure chest that's already opened, this means you've already accomplished it, so something's worth noting for, and also just to show you what really happens if you go back onto that exactly the same bonus area again, if you manage to able to complete it, that is, so oh, and also keep that in mind though, Sonic, as well, is that I believe, fundamentally speaking though, is that once we get to like sometime in November, that will mark the 20th anniversary of the game's release of Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, which, at least specifically the Game Boy Advance version, Knuckles, because obviously no matter what though, it's kind of hard for me to go back into that version to me anyway, just because I'm still basically stuck on Maleficent Dragon boss fight, because I will admit though right away, I'm not a big fan of the card-based battle system, just because it can be pretty tricky to get the strategy going, and on top of that, I just felt it's a little bit too convoluted to able to try to get used to with it, so anyways, we've met again with Funky Kong right here, and because the reason why we're going in here, just in case we can able to buy some more figurine capsules, so we can able to go ahead and see what specific figures we might as well get. Well, again, just like the forms of how it does it for standees in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, as what Ray has already pointed out, we will come across into duplicates every once in a while, especially concerning for the fact that, well, so far anyway, that we've already completed 2 worlds so far, so we can expect about the fact that we're able to actually come across into even more figurines once we're able to continue proceedings for this, for the most part, so yeah, a lot of duplicates, despite the fact that we did somehow spend quite a few banana coins, so I think that should be all said and done. Anyway, so now we're done with that particular level, so now we're going to move on to the next level, which, as a result, no matter what though, it appears to be body forms of level 3-4, Scorch and Torch. And does that particular level environment sounds a bit familiar to you? Or to be more specifically, how it looks to you? Well, kind of thinking about it, this level does remind me of that specific scene from The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, when, remember that part where Kiara was obviously just still practicing buddy forms of hunting skills, but as a result, no matter what though, I believe Ferretti or Victani and as well as Nuka was planning to able to burn down Pride Lands at one point, and because of that though, yeah, it does remind me of that. Well, except the fact no matter what though is about the fact, as you can tell, that we can able to actually get a lot of usage of the forms of the water fruit. Which obviously, if you carry that on specific occasions, then you can able to pull out fire out. So that way you can able to actually recommend you do that for certain situations. Specifically, like certain ropes do manage able to contain fire on them, and in order to do that, you simply got able to actually carry this water fruit with you, and you have to able to throw it at that particular burning fire, and vice versa though, really. So yeah, it's pretty simple when you get the hang of it though, although every once in a while that we will able to come across into some tricky moments, like for instance is that if you manage able to come across into those burnt leaves on specific trees, those leaves will attempt able to disintegrate it, but luckily though they do somehow respawn if you manage able to accidentally activate that particular burnt leaves somehow disintegrated. So but at least thankfully though, the rope does not get burnt at all, so, and this is the point about the fact that we have to just not to fall into the fire, because that will be very, very horrifying. But potentially speaking though, luckily we still got Dixie Kong with us, so it should make things a little bit more easy to manage. So also we've got ourselves the returning level hazards, which appears to be those screaming pillars, but except this time they're now on fire. So yeah, at least potentially speaking, I was about the fact that, again, it does remind me of the Lion King 2 vibes, so at the very least, that's something, so anyway, though, I suppose there's also another thing I want to mention about this, potentially speaking, I suppose, is that there is actually a series called, The Ghost and Molly McGee. I believe that particular series has been aired its final episode recently, which, despite the fact that we never actually known about the films of this series up until now, well, potentially speaking for this point, Knuckles, is about the fact that at this point in time, we've decided able to take a break on watching certain TV stuff, every now and then. Well, that's just mainly because at this point in time, we are still going to be able to figure out the checklist of certain films we really want to see for the majority of 2024, and especially noticeable for 2025 and onwards. So, but still, no matter what though for this point, Sonic, is that still we're just able to ignore the majority of the films of the Disney live-action movies now, just because we just got bored of them. Yeah, especially concerning for the fact that after the events of... Oh jeez, that was close. Because I almost assume I've almost got messed up right there, but luckily we somehow made it in a nick of time to able to actually get that particular puzzle piece. So that was a definition of the close call right there. In fact, that was tight. So anyways, though, so let's go and smash those screaming pillars, assuming, of course, they do somehow contain a puzzle piece, which I don't think that's going to be the case, so yeah, we'll just able to continue going forward, I guess. So yeah, because kind of thinking about it, though, for this point, Knuckles, is that every single world is going to be divided into 2 parts, basically, so yeah, because obviously, just like in some worlds, specifically in Donkey Kong Country Returns, like World 5, which is the forest, as well as the cliff, and the factory, and maybe the volcano as well, that those worlds are very lengthy in the previous game, whilst in this game this time around, every single world in the game, except one, is very, very lengthy. Oh, jeez, that was a close call right there. Like, usually I just have no words to say, because thankfully with Dixie Kong with us, then it should make things a little bit more easy and self-explanatory. So, but at the very least though, Knuckles, well, I will say, that was cool, and stuff. Well, I wouldn't say that much though, just because, still, no matter what though, we still have to cope with the forms of a lot of trial and error every once in a while. Anyway, so let's just, go ahead and avoid those, flammable floor, so I think something tells me there is something in that particular little bag thingy right there, which, as a result, I think, as soon as we're able to try to find that, one of those, water fruits, well, I don't think there's going to be one in here, so I just have no idea why I took a death right there, so... Well, at the very least, though, we still managed able to get the checkpoint from earlier ago, so at the very least, we don't have to worry about just trying to go all the way back again, so... Well, unless, if we decide to look after the barrel and such, and... Oh, jeez, okay. Oh jeez, we have no idea what the heck are we expecting for this, what we're supposed to able to figure. Ah, there we go. Oh, it's just a bunch of bananas. Okay, I almost assumed that was going to be a puzzle piece in here, but apparently though, I believe one of those bonus areas in particular is going to be located just not that far from here, I don't think. And in fact, we do need a water fruit right here, so just in case we can able to extinguish the fire, and we should able to enter in. And thankfully though is actually the trampoline bonus area, which I suppose that's a good thing, because obviously with the barrel cannon ones, sometimes some of them are easy, but other times they are a little bit more difficult, mainly with the ones that, you know what I'm saying, with the diagonal shot ones, with all that little spring decides able to push you back into the barrel, but either way. Well, so far so good anyway. At least we've only got one more puzzle piece left. I get the strong feeling that the last puzzle piece is going to be at the very end of the level, but we got to be quick about it, I guess. Or maybe, I don't know, because... Oh, dang it! I was so close, but then the fireball decides able to hit us. And then as a result, it gives us a bit of a stunt thing right there, so... Oh, dang it, fireball. Oh well, no big deal, because besides, we've already got so many extra lives at this point, which thankfully, unlike the Super Nintendo games, usually for the Donkey Kong Country trilogy, your lives attempt to reset if you manage able to switch off the game and switch it back on again, whilst in here though, alongside with the forms of Donkey Kong Country Returns, basically though, your lives will be kept for the exact amount, so at the very least that's, you know, still pretty generous enough. But it might be still pretty difficult though at times though, Sonic, so I just want to give you a heads up. Yeah, I know that. Alright, so there we go. Now we've somehow finally made our way towards the end. And I believe all the way to the right, this is where... Oh no! We missed the puzzle piece! Ah, maybe because we timed it a little bit too early right there. I get the strong feeling with that particular gold barrel to sometimes manage to able to hop all over the place. So, yeah, we didn't hesitate very well, so that's a bit of a nuisance. So, anyway, at the very least, we'll be back for that once we finish up almost everything for, you know, Bright Savannah. So, anyways, we'll do one more level from now on, and that's what appears to be level 3-5, Twilight Terror. And I believe, out of all the actual levels in this game, it looks like not only we can able to come across into a normal exit, as we expected, but this is the only level in the game that does manage able to feature a multitude of secret exits. Like, for instance, there's going to be a secret exit somewhere in the midway portion of the level, and then the other one is actually the end of the level. But here's the catch though, I believe we do need to acquire Dixie Kong for the majority of the forms of those secret exits, so, at least as far as I'm aware. Yeah, because I always assume about the fact that no wonder why a lot of people attempt able to choose Dixie Kong over the likes of Diddy Kong as well as Cranky Kong just because of her useful, you know, the ponytail hovering ability. So, yeah, I guess that makes it a little bit obvious right there, so... But, exponentially speaking of for this point, Knuckles, is that, well, I can't believe by saying this, is that whenever I looked upon something, like, for instance, that there was actually a voting thing, like, for instance, there was actually that particular little thing that did say, it comes from, Pokey Hunter, by the way, and he did say about the fact that which is the worst track in the Boosticles Pass. And the actual picks there are, which is 3DS Toad Circuit, as well as Tour Tokyo Blur, and SNES Mario Circuit 3, and other. Well, as a result, the majority of the people did say 3DS Toad Circuit is by far the worst track in terms of the forms of the Boosticles Pass DLC. Well, I suppose that particular topic can wait if I decide able to get around on doing the Boosticles Pass playthrough, at least until specifically when it gets to the point until maybe by the end of the year or something like that, for 2024 anyway. Speaking of which though, Sonic, is that, did you know, not only does the Nintendo DS is going to be releasing, or to be more specifically, the Nintendo DS is going to be expected to become 20 this year, but also the PSP as well. Oh yeah, I think that's what I was going to be able to expect to think about it anyway. Well, despite the fact that we haven't exactly looked upon that much of anniversary-related things for game consoles recently, ever since in Journey Phones of last year for 2023, where we did somehow manage to able to celebrate the 10th anniversary since 2 months ago, potentially, which is both the PlayStation 4 as well as the Xbox One, because obviously no matter what though, we still managed to able to got those 2 systems, mainly because of the die-hard Sonic fans, and on top of that with the Kingdom Hearts games that we still got for the PlayStation 4 systems, just because still, no matter what though, we just gonna have to able to still skip over the Nintendo Switch version just because of all that stupid cloud system, so, which I still find is a little bit baffling to me. Well, to be more specifically, it is understandable for Kingdom Hearts 3 still, just because of the graphics powerhouse, but it's more accurately for the sake of 1.5 plus 2.5 remakes, to be more specifically, I found it a little bit baffling, because concerning for the fact that that was obviously the PlayStation 2 games we all know and love, for Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, and as a result, there aren't any graphical upgrades, aside from the fact that the resolution has been upgraded, as well as the actual remastered soundtrack and stuff like that, which we still honestly prefer, because obviously, while listening to back on the forms of the original versions nowadays, it might look a bit, or sound a bit dated as for the time, so... Anyways though, for this particular level right here, obviously as you can tell, we're somehow going back onto the Rocket Barrel segment ever since enduring the forms of sometime in World 2, so yeah, you pretty much get the idea of how that's going to turn out to be, so... And conveniently enough, we somehow made our way to the end of the level, so... And I think, fundamentally speaking though, this stage is overall really short, so... No matter what though, I believe the end of the level is just right there, and I believe down there, this is where we find the secret exits that we can able to actually just to jump into, but we'll save that until for another time, just because no matter what though, we are still gonna have to focus on the actual chronological order for the actual the level order, but either way though, that's besides the point. So there we go, there's our first exit that we did somehow found for the sake of the forms of Twilight Terror, so either way though, yeah, that's what I can really think about it. So with that being said, we got the ending stuff at this point right here, so join us next time for more of Let's Play of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Is that we're going to be finishing up everything for the sake of the forms of Bright Savannah by finding some secret exits right there, and on top of that, more Kong letters, and of course some stingy puzzle pieces sometimes. So I'll see you guys until on Thursday. Later fellas.